if you've had, I don't know, a stop at an Oxer, let's say, and you've ended in the middle of it, landed on the back bar, whatever, and then your adrenaline starts to take over, your fear starts to take over, and we get a bit flappy and we override it. It's a strategy to help you get to the other side of it that's essentially not going to give you the same result as landing in the middle of it. But then what tends to happen is, from us flapping and driving and getting a little bit busy, we then start to label ourselves.
Happy Monday. Super welcome to the podcast. If this is the first episode that you're listening to, super welcome. And do remember to hit the follow button before you leave us today so you get notified when new episodes come out each week. Righto. Today we're going to talk about that stress response, I would dare to call it, when something happens, we get nervous and we kind of plug back into old habits. So oftentimes we have something that we practice, we know what we want to do in a stressful situation, like whether that is a show jumping course, a dressage test, you're out hacking your horse. We know what we want to do to solve a certain situation, but when we get stressed, we kind of revert straight back to our old habits and just that automatic response, and afterwards you're like, I know better. Like I know what I should be doing in that situation, but still it's almost like your automatic pattern, they just take over. So if that's happening to you, then you'll be happy at the end of this episode. But before we dive in, Lorna, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. I always give you a weekly Scottish weather update, and today the sun is shining. I've moved into 10 positions since we started to record this because the beautiful sunshine is shining everywhere today. So that is my weekly weather update for you all.
Amazing. Yeah, we have really good weather in Belgium as well. I will already excuse already because it's such a good weather. We also have a lot of flies, and there's literally this fly just circling around me. So if there's a fly popping up in the camera, you know why. Anyhow, we appreciate the good weather. Righto, Lorna, that said, let's dive in. So, stressful situation. Like I think we've all had this. For me, like what pops up is this show jumping around where I feel like I have practiced something in training. I know what I want to do, and I go in, and it's just like fast forward through my show jumping round, and I've done all the things that I didn't plan to do. I come out and it's like, what the hell happened? Do you recognize
And I think the first thing, we see this with the riders of all levels, huh? It doesn't matter exactly what you said before, whether you have a challenge with hacking, whether it's riding a test, whether it's show jumping, whether it's going cross country. Like, I think every single rider we deal with experiences this at some point. I think it's easy to say it's a bad habit. Like people say, oh, when I feel stressed, these bad habits come back. But I honestly believe they're not bad habits. I believe that they're protective patterns, because once you understand that, everything starts to change. Because if you just say it's a bad habit, people are like, oh God, it takes so long to change a habit, and why does this keep happening to me? But you have to remember that your subconscious mind, its main job is to keep you safe. So it is always, always, always going to choose that before performance. So again, you talk about your show jumping, right? And it doesn't have to be something obvious. You can step into that feeling confident as such, or you can be trusting yourselves or your decisions or your commitment or all that kind of thing. But it just takes one little moment that doesn't feel great to then suddenly this pattern again starts running, and you're like, where did that come from? Like exactly what you're saying. Like, hang on a minute here. Like I had a really good training through the week. How come this has just happened? I can see you smiling, so maybe you can add something into that.
Yeah, no, I have. This happened to me a lot before with my previous mare. I had this habit of like really going forward with my upper body. I've talked a lot about this. It was a habit of mine. Like when I come up to a fence, and I see a big stride, or there's no stride there. Like I had this habit of just like going forward with my body and just like kind of pushing over with my upper body, and that has taken me years to change. And even now and again, like you say, something happens in the middle of the course, I still have that happening. It's much less than it was before, but it's still there. And what I love what you're saying here. What's so interesting about this is it's there for a reason. Like that habit, we don't create habits just out of the blue. Like it's in our nature to like the reason why we start doing something automatic. It's because it once helped us. And in my case, like I had a mare before and I had a pony that had a tendency to stop. So what I did then, like I didn't know better. I just kind of, I leaned forward and I kind of had that almost cross position, and I just kind of,
Yeah.
always like I went up to a fence and I just started cantering towards it, and that worked like
Yeah,
for a while,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
sometimes with my pony and my previous mare, and I think that worked is the key here. The only reason why I started doing that automatically was because it worked.
Yeah.
If it wouldn't have worked, if it wouldn't have gotten me safe to the other side of the fence, I wouldn't have continued to do it. But then for every time you do that and every time that works out, that habit becomes even more ingrained in your system. So
Yeah.
I think what you say there is so important to realize it's not quote unquote like we call it a bad habit because it's not what we want to be doing
Yeah.
anymore, because we know
Yeah.
better now and we've learned more and we've found out that there's other better ways of doing things. But it had a positive intention and it got you the desired result once, like in the
Yeah.
past. So, like you said, I think that's the first step to neutralize, to not call it a bad habit, just
Yeah.
call it a habit, just for like see it for what it is, call out the positive intention. It once, like it served a purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't
Yeah.
have continued to do that.
Yeah. And I love that because it's your nervous system essentially keeping you safe. It's using the best strategy that it knows. And I think, you can ride cross country and you see all of us, if you're a bit off something or you're jumping into water and you're off it, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You can get your elbows out, you can kind of start driving with your body. Is it ideally what you want to do? No, but it is the determined version of you that somewhere along the line knows that if you really get stuck in and you ride like that, it's going to work out. Yes, we all want to sit there and make it look really easy and, it's all quiet, and it's still, yeah, that's the ideal. That's what we're all striving for. But somewhere there's a pattern in your subconscious mind that is running that says, if I am off this table, or, if your horse has had an issue at water, and you can relate to this as well, you know, the way that you got Echo into water after you'd had that challenge when he stopped, that's programmed in there. And yes, by habit and training, you've got yourself out of that, but you had to be really gutsy and really positive and, probably not as still as you wanted to be. But then that takes training to get yourself back out of that pattern again, because it is a pattern. It's the best strategy that your mind knows at that time to get, and that's not wrong, but to get the desired results. So it's the same thing if you've had, I don't know, a stop at an Oxer, let's say, and you've ended in the middle of it, landed on the back bar, whatever, and then your adrenaline starts to take over, your fear starts to take over, and we get a bit flappy and we override it's a strategy to help you get to the other side of it. That's essentially not going to give you the same result as landing in the middle of it. But then what tends to happen is, from us flapping and driving and getting a little bit busy, we then start to label ourselves. So then, we can label ourselves as a nervous rider, a bad rider, a rider that can't see a stride, a tense rider. Same thing when you go out hacking, if you've got a horse that's a bit nappy or any of those things, it's the aftermath of that tends to cause us a bit of trouble, because then our identity starts to get, all caught up in that. Like, I am somebody who messes up. And actually, that is where it becomes a little bit dangerous, because you're attaching your identity to a nervous system response, essentially. And that starts creating even more pressure in the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it becomes stressful, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, like you say, you've been outside riding, you have a horse that's snappy, or water fence, or something has happened, right? I have that big thing with like oxers, like big oxers. And this literally happened to me. Like I was out competing on Saturday. And I was running a really, really good round, like so good. Like I'm so happy with the round. But there is this one point in this course where I'm coming around the corner. It was a short turn, the big ass oxer, and yeah, I saw a big stride. And what did I do? Like it was a stressful situation for me. Short turn, big
Yeah.
oxer, big
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
130, and that stress response came out of me. And what did I do? I started riding with my upper body, flapping my
Yeah.
elbows. Got over it. Yeah, like you say, it worked. I had to pay for it afterwards because I had to
Yeah.
pull, because I had. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I know
Yeah.
that it's a better, but it still happens, right? And I'd say I think it's important also like to understand, because I'll be like, well, why does it happen then? Like, why is it that I in training or at a vertical I don't do that?
Yeah.
It's that stress thing, and we have to remember that your body is your brain is the most energy consuming organ in our bodies, right? So, and to do something different, you need your brain, because like it like the automatic way of doing things, the way you've always done things, that is the least energy using thing to do, because
Yeah.
you basically don't need to switch on that conscious part of your brain. Your body can just act on instinct, and that saves so much energy, and that's why our body like builds up habits from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
But in a stressful situation, when your brain is like, oh, there's something going on here, it's like, I need the energy and I need the focus to focus on the danger here. So what is it going to do? It's going to fall back on those automatic patterns because it wants to use up the energy for other things. That's why in training, when there's no threat there, or at a vertical, at a competition, when there's no threat there, you can
Yeah.
use that mind space to consciously do something different. But the moment there's a threat there, your brain is like, oh, I'm going to use all my energy for that dangerous thing over here. So I'm just going to fall back and use my automatic pattern to cover what I can.
Yeah. I think as well, for me, the important bit behind all this is understanding your emotions behind it. Understand the emotion that is creating it. And most people it is fear, exactly what you're saying. You know, there's whether it's a big ass ox or whether it's, you know, your horse naps at whips round, you've fallen off, like whatever that looks like, because your behavior always follows the state. So it's really important to understand what state of mind essentially you're in. And I think that's where frustration really builds with riders, because you can say to yourself logically all day long, and people say this, I know better. Like, I know better. I use it myself. I know better than this. But you know you shouldn't tense up, you know you shouldn't pull, you know you shouldn't be holding your breath. And yet your body still does it. And that I hear a lot is, I know better. But that's just logical, huh? And riding is not just a logical sport. We know that. It's a neurological sport. So exactly what you're saying, your brain, those two different systems, you know, I talk about it red, blue, that whole survival part compared to I know what the plan is. There's two completely different things here. So when your nervous system senses there is a threat in anything, it will always go back to exactly what you're saying, prioritize what's familiar over what is effective. So exactly what you're talking about in your track. In training, effectively, you know how to keep that smooth turn, you know how to keep that rhythm, you know how to do all that stuff. But when things don't work out exactly as we want them to, and there's a consequence, as in there's another oxer to jump or there's another upright, then our brain goes into that threat mode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get stuck in that cycle. And every single person you talk to is like, I hate this.
Yeah, because the thing is also, and that's why I guess it's first, because it's not like you don't know what to do. Like,
No.
I know that I'm to sit back with my upper body, put my leg
Yeah.
on, you know, sit still in my upper body. I know how to sit up in my landings. Like, you know, I know those things. It's not that I don't know what to do. My body also knows what to do.
Yeah.
But it's not yet the automatic way of doing things, because there's been way more times that I have leaned forward and that has worked than I have
Yeah.
actually remembered to
Yeah.
sit back up. It's like they speak
Yeah.
about that 10,000 hour rule. Like
Exactly
you have to
that.
have
Yeah.
done it the way that you want to do it consciously 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Right. You know, okay. And that is, you know, it's not an exact number in science or all those things, but there's something in there. Like there's something there. So how do you then start moving, Lorna, from this automatic and just having your body react automatically in stressful situation towards actually consciously taking control and doing your new habit, let's say?
I'd say the first thing I would put out there is the more you start to attack yourself internally, the more unsafe your nervous system starts to feel. So that protection pattern, it starts to run faster and quicker. So, you know, what's wrong with me? So if you say, what's wrong with me? What's happened? Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? You're attacking yourself internally. So
Yeah.
I would stop that and I'd say, okay, hang on a minute here. What state am I in right now? Because for me, that's all about awareness. And that's obviously what we talk about all the time. So that first bit of awareness is going to be, it brings you your choice back. Whereas when you attack yourself, there's no choice. You've taken all that away. You're going to start talking shit to yourself. And that is where you're going to, you know, bring your confidence back a little bit, because remember, it's not gone anywhere. We've just lost access to it. We've lost access to that part of your brain because we're in threat mode. So, you know, what state am I in right now? Am I in a state of panic? Am I in a state of freeze? Am I in a state of, you know, those are states which we can actually do something about. Whereas what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? It's a personal attack on yourself.
Yeah, and I think what really helps, at least for me there, is to see this at neutral events. And that's why I like to talk about, look, let's not talk about this habit as a bad habit. Let's just talk about it as it was something that has served me once. Like that helps, I think, to neutralize it. It's neither good or bad. It just is. It served a purpose at one point in time.
Yeah.
It still does, but there's another way to do things which is more effective. There's no other good or bad. It just is. And I think that really helps in being like, because otherwise you'll be like, oh, I keep on doing this bad habit. I'm a bad rider.
Yeah.
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 No, it just is. It's just a way of moving your body. And there might be another one,
Yeah.
but let's not necessarily label them as good or bad.
Yeah. And I think as well, actually, when you talk about, I know that I need to sit up properly, or I know that I need to sit up after my fences. Again, you cannot consciously tell yourself that if you do not regulate what's going on in your nervous system first. Like there is a reason that your body is tipped forward. It's not because you can't do it. It's not, in training you can do it 100 times when somebody is like, sit your bum in the saddle, get your shoulders back. Like it's a pattern that's repeated. But your body still feels unsafe. That is the reason that all of us, tip forward a bit in our shoulders, because it's usually got something to do with our breath. It's usually got something to do with softness in our body. It's usually got something to do with our focus. It's usually got to do with whether we're in the present moment or we've gone off somewhere else. So I think we have to regulate our own bodies first, like what is going on in here, and then the physical pattern, as in your body, the structure of your body, it can actually start to change after that.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that because, like we said before, it's not that our body doesn't know it.
No,
Like
I
we
don't.
know how to do it. We just cannot
100%.
access it because our brain is so busy focusing on that threat. So I think,
Yeah.
all that said, the first step in all of this is awareness of what is going on and
Yeah.
practice being present and in that helpful, effective state like even under pressure. Like whenever you get pushed, like it doesn't have to be in your riding, anything you're doing in life, any stressful situation that you get put in, practice staying present. Like
Yeah.
practice like noticing which state you're in, your emotional state
Yeah.
in your body. Practice being aware of what is actually happening in your body. It's
Yeah.
not only in the landing of a fence that I can have body awareness. It's in anything that happens. Just practice have body awareness and notice what's happening in the moment in any
Yeah.
stressful situation you're going through.
Yeah. And I think especially I relate to this cross country. Like, I didn't have a water issue. I labeled myself that as a water issue after skiing. And, then our mind goes into, you think you know what's going to happen next. Like you label it as I have a part of your identity. Like I am the rider who has that water issue. And then your body starts to prepare for that. Okay. As you're riding, and you know this as well, like your body starts preparing for riding into that water fence. And nothing's actually happened, but your body's, it started to prepare for danger. We're in, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's an awareness thing, because that awareness becomes powerful. Because once you, like in my own mind, if I don't like a fence, I stop breathing. Like before, like if I'm in a cross country track, I'll anticipate that something is about to happen and I stop breathing. That's a pattern. Like the quickest way that I can interrupt that pattern is I can notice the awareness of that thought and actually just start breathing. Because as soon as I start breathing, I get rid of the tension out of my body, and essentially, I'm going to try and stop that whole driving thing into it, because your body becomes not as tense with it all.
Yeah, 100%. And a good way of doing that could be just as simple as a thing, because often there's a fear reaction in our body. There's tension
Yeah,
in our
of
body when
course.
this is happening. So, something I often give as homework to people is like, just notice, like if you say that you're feeling stressed or feeling scared, what does that actually mean? Like, how do you know that you're feeling scared? Like, what is the physical manifestation in your body of that? And just
Yeah.
find that and notice that. Because here's the thing, what's happening then, you force yourself to become present, because you have to go and look for that fear response, and you have to basically do a kind of body scan, and it's like, okay, yeah, what is actually happening? Oh yeah, I can feel that my heart is racing. Oh, I can feel that I am breathing really shallow, like I'm not breathing through my entire lungs. I'm not thinking in oxygen. Oh, I can feel that I'm tensing up in my shoulders. But like, it's different for everyone. It's probably similar, but start with noticing that, because what's happening, automatically you become present, and automatically you switch yourself out of that automatic pattern and actually start noticing what is happening in your body.
Yeah. And I think that's a cool thing, actually, because I believe underneath fear is unpredictability. And that is, as riders, why we want to start controlling everything. Like if I can micromanage and control everything, nothing bad will happen. But again, that is a protective response. So for me, this is really about digging into your awareness, because that is why we micromanage things. If I get everything spot on and I don't make a mistake and I'm absolutely accurate, then, you think you can start to control the outcome, but we can't. Like, it's
Mm.
awareness that allows us to be present and essentially have control of the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So whether that is awareness of your thoughts, awareness of your body, awareness of your horse, awareness, like
Yeah.
anything that you can grab yourself into the moment and start functioning again,
Yeah.
literally out of that state and into an unhelpful state. And this is obviously there's tons of way of doing that exact thing, and
Yeah.
this is different for everyone. What's working for one person is not necessarily going to work for the next. It's about testing different things, and I think that is a big part that we do as coaches. We kind of give people ideas. It's like, what if you test this? Like, maybe this is your strategy to get back into that
Yeah.
helpful state. Maybe this is your, but if you're curious, because that's the first question I get from people, when you suggest it, is like, okay, well, what should I focus on then?
Yeah.
Like, there's a million things, but that's, I think, where we can be really helpful as coaches, to just give people those little clues. And then it's about finding their own way in doing that. And yeah, as always.
Regulating yourself. I actually had an interesting conversation with a lady the other day when she was on a discovery call, and she said to me, she's like, how long is this going to take? And I said to her, I honestly don't know, because exactly what you're saying, this is about us, and
Mm,
our nervous systems work in a completely different way. So we have to experiment with things until you have that aha moment of, that's what works for me. So
mm,
for it's a really interesting question, but the honest answer is I have no idea. Until we start this, I have no idea. Like, if you show up and you try and you experiment and you get curious about it all, you're going to make progress fast. That is what I will tell you. But as for, yeah, it's going to take me 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, I don't know. It's the honest answer. And I think it is really cool, because all of this, we always say everything is a curious experiment. And the goal is never to become fearless in any of this. It's about not, really talking shit to yourself. It's not about abandoning yourself. It's about actually being able to understand yourself. And
mm.
when you can start to understand yourself, when we give you the manual or the handbook as into how to understand yourself, that is where you can, you can change these patterns really fast.
That said, if you're curious to find out more about the work that me and Lorna do on a one-on-one basis, then go to mindig.eu/coaching. And apart from that, Lorna, we're just gonna challenge people to start making strides in their mindsets, so they can truly make strides in their riding. And we will see them on the next Magical Monday.